All right, good afternoon and welcome back, everybody. My name is Julio Quiralte. Today's career coffee chat is going to be one of the recruiter portions. Ask the Recruiter. I am very excited about today's presenter because I've had the pleasure of working with her, and she always made my job a lot easier when I was hiring committee chair. We have Ms. Julie Reitzi, and she is one of the recruiters at Lone Star College. As I mentioned in the past, Lone Star College has a lot of opportunities for a lot of different majors. And so I thought this would be a really great opportunity to kind of introduce you a little bit more to the other side of higher ed that you guys don't know, but also ask questions to somebody who regularly goes to career fairs and has to deal with students, and she can give you some of the tips or best practices on how to be successful with that. So with no further ado, Julie, I'm gonna back out and the show is all yours.
Well, thank you, Julio. It's a pleasure to see you again. It was a pleasure working with you back then, so I'm glad to be here and invited, and I'm really excited to speak with everybody today. I am going to start out by just, talking a little bit about my journey, actually. And then from there, I will talk a little bit about Lone Star College, and we can address any questions that you have. So, I did not grow up imagining that I was going to be a recruiter in human resources in higher education. I kind of had a winding career path to get here. So my first jobs were, Target, babysitting. I worked at a Kumon Learning Center. And through that experience tutoring, I realized that I really do like the educational setting, but I wasn't quite ready to commit to it. I did a little more tutoring on the side as well. Even did some kind of odd jobs like decorating for the holidays. So I've done a lot of different things, but at the core of it, I really like working with people. In college, I majored in American Studies and Psychology. I thought I was going to be an English major, but found the major that was right for me as a sophomore. So I was lucky enough through networking to basically get an internship full-time in the summers and in the fall when I was home from school with an HR consulting firm. And so that was really a pivotal career move for me because at that firm, we dealt a lot with equal employment opportunity, affirmative action. And so even though I wasn't in HR proper, our customers were HR. And so I learned a lot about the field, a lot about the world of work in general. Pursued my HR certification, my professional and human resources certification, and later my SHRM CP certification. And just, really kind of fell in love with HR. And I particularly love recruiting because, again, I get to meet a lot of people, learn about a lot of different people, both inside my institution and outside. So that is kind of how I got there. So to kind of, give you an overview of Lone Star College, we are in the Houston area, as I'm sure many of you know. We are the largest institution of higher education in the Houston area. Houston is one of the most diverse large cities in the country. There's some demographic information there for you. We're also the energy capital of the world, from petrochemicals to even wind power. We also have one of the largest medical complexes in the world. So there's a lot of opportunities in Houston. At Lone Star College, our mission is to provide comprehensive educational opportunities and programs to enrich lives. And our vision is that we'll be a model college globally recognized for achieving exceptional levels of success in student learning, student completion, gainful employment, equity, and affordability. Our strategic plan is kind of five-pronged. Student success, academic and workforce program quality, financial responsibility and accountability, culture and partnerships are all major components of our strategy. Again, going back to that culture piece, culture is very, very important at Lone Star College. We have cultural beliefs that guide us in all that we do. We call those LSC focus. So one LSC, we really strive to develop meaningful relationships and collaborate for mutual success. So not working in silos. We are student focused, so we, in every role, try to support and prepare each student to succeed in college and in life. So even in departments that aren't necessarily student facing, that is something that we take into account. Own it. So we are about, personal accountability, owning our contributions, rising to challenges. Advance equity. So we advance equity and diversity and inclusion to create an equitable environment. Cultivate community, creating a community of trust and integrity through transparent dialogue and purposeful actions. And choose learning. We are a learning institution, so that's one of our core values. We learn, grow, and create opportunities for others to do the same. We have been granted the designation of a great college to work for. I think it's actually 4 years in a row now. And this year we're actually recognized in all 11 categories. So collaborative governance, compensation and benefits, confidence in senior leadership, diversity, our facilities, job satisfaction, professional development programs, respect and appreciation. For those who are interested in academic, the academic side of the house, supervisor or department chair relationship, we were recognized for, as well as teaching environment, and across the board, work-life balance. So to kind of visually put us on a map, we are basically as far west as Katy, as far north as the Woodlands in Conroe, and as far east as Kingwood in Houston area. So we have 9 colleges and multiple centers. If you are north of I-10, it's hard to be far from any one of our locations. So I am going to try to play a video for y'all, just kind of giving you a day in the life of a student at Lone Star College. The student is taking some hybrid courses and some online courses, which is, kind of the environment that we're in right now.
Hey y'all, my name is Kimberly. I'm a sophomore studying business at Lone Star College in Houston, Texas. And today I get to show you what a day is like on my campus. But I will say that this semester is a little different than last year due to the current COVID-19 guidelines. So instead of having all 7 of my classes in person, 6 of them were transitioned online, and the 7th is a hybrid course, meaning half online and half in person. So today I'm on campus for my hybrid accounting course, which starts in about an hour. When I get here early, a few things I like to do are check my emails for important updates from my professors, do some homework from my online classes, or review notes from last class. Today I need to review some material for my calculus class in my math lab, and after that I'm gonna head to class. Now that I'm done with my accounting class, I want to take you to a few of my favorite places here on campus. This is Lone Star's case building. All student activities are held inside or out here on the lawn. This semester, we don't get to come here for events, but the Student Life Committee has put on some really fun virtual events like a scavenger hunt, virtual bingo, and hosting a drive-in movie. Next, I'll show you my favorite part of campus. This water feature is definitely the centerpiece of Lone Star. On nice days, I try to get a table nearby to work for a few hours. It's such a nice addition that gives it a feel of a university. I wish I could stay to work here today, but I actually have an online class and a group project to work on in just a few minutes. So I'm headed home, and I'll see you there. Since moving to online learning, I've realized the necessity of having a productive workspace. For me, that's a big desk with plenty of space for my notebook, my iPad, computer, sticky notes, pens, anything that I need for the assignment that I'm working on. I usually am here until about 4 o'clock every day, and at that time I try to turn my computer off, put my notes away, and go make dinner and spend time with family. It's now the end of my school day, so I'm going to sign off here, but I have had so much fun showing you around both of my campus locations, and I hope you guys have the best semester.
So thanks for watching that, y'all. Currently, I would say that about 50% of our courses at Lone Star are fully online. About 25% are hybrid, and about 25% are face-to-face. A lot of those would be workforce courses where you really need to be in person for labs, things like our truck driving program, our nursing program, welding, etc. So just wanted to kind of show you a day in the life of a typical student right now. So for those of you who would be interested in teaching at Lone Star, I'll go over, what the typical requirements are. For most disciplines, it would be a master's degree in that area or a master's degree with 18 graduate hours. But of course, that will vary. Those are more for the academic credit courses. But for workforce courses, it may be a little bit different. It may be an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree. So if you have specific questions about that, I'm happy to help. But when applying for any of our faculty positions, whether that's a part-time adjunct position or a full-time faculty position, these are the required documents that you'll need to include. You would need to have a cover letter, a resume or CV, your teaching philosophy. I can go over that a little bit more if anyone has questions about that, but those are typically about a page or two, and it would be a document detailing your philosophy on teaching, pedagogy, any methods that you would use or have used in the classroom. And then we will also need your unofficial graduate or doctoral transcripts. If there's a certification required, if it's like a workforce program, we would also need that. We don't need your official, but we would need the unofficial for credentialing to make sure that everyone's qualified for the position. If you are applying for non-faculty positions, something on the staff side or the administrative side, I just wanted to give you a heads up about some of the requirements we have for resumes, which are a little bit different than some other places where you might apply. Because of the way that we, look at salary for people who are offered the position, there's some additional requirements that we like to see on resumes. So you'll need to include the length of time, specifically the months and years of employment at each position. If the position was full-time or part-time, if it was paid or unpaid, for example, it was an unpaid internship or something like that. And then again, just a reminder that we would need the unofficial transcript for your highest earned degree. And again, any certifications should be included as well. And to just kind of give you an idea of what our process looks like, our full-time hiring is typically done by committee. So rather than just meeting with a hiring manager, you'd most likely meet with a few other people as well from various departments. We really strive to have diverse committees that represent a lot of different perspectives. So in full disclosure, sometimes our hiring process takes a little bit longer than some other places for that reason. If you're applying to an adjunct or part-time position, those positions are typically posted on kind of a rolling or continuous basis, so that if there is a need for hire, there is an applicant pool available for the hiring manager to go and review. If it's an adjunct position, that would be the department chair. And so just, to kind of give you an idea of how those postings typically work. Let's say that you go through the interview process, you are the person who they want to offer the position to. This is kind of what you can expect the process to look like at Lone Star College. You'll get a verbal offer. From there, we'll do some work behind the scenes to get that routed to you and get you a written offer. you would have 5 days to accept that offer. You'd make sure to be checking your email at that time, make sure you're not missing anything, because you would also get an email from the background check vendor, et cetera. Then you'd complete your submission to the background check vendor. Once that's received, you'll get some notifications from us with some information for your first day. And then you'd need to just come to HR and go to orientation. So this is kind of the end of my presentation. Just wanted to let you know that we are on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you want to look at our current open positions, you can check them out at lonestar.edu/employment. And so now I just have a lot of time dedicated for your questions.
Awesome, thank you. So one of the things that you said that kind of caught my attention was the length of time for the application process. Can you kind of give us a guesstimate as to, from the moment you submit an application, how long would it take for somebody to get an offer?
Sure, that's a great question. And, I'm here to be fully transparent, and, the answer is that it depends. For, various positions, it could be a few weeks. They might post the position for, let's say 30 days, but within that time frame, they're kind of gathering the search committee together. Search committee will need to meet. They'll need to review applications, need to schedule interviews. There might be multiple rounds. So that's another thing to keep in mind with Lone Star College is for full-time positions, there might be a phone interview, there might be a face-to-face. In this environment, that might be WebEx, but face-to-face interview. And then maybe even a round of finalist interviews. And then from the time that you're offered the position, our start dates are usually about 3 weeks out. So, all told, it could be 2 to 3 months from the time that you apply to when somebody could start at Lone Star College for a full-time position. And that's just an average. And then again, going back to the part-time positions, since those are kind of more of an applicant pool, there's not really a guarantee necessarily that they're going to have a need. Those are going to be kind of cyclical ahead of the semesters where the department chairs are meeting their staffing needs based on the courses that have made. But, who knows, there might not be a need that semester, or maybe something happens mid-semester and there's an emergency and they need to find somebody. So for those, we do try to communicate at least quarterly and let you know that your application has been submitted, it's been received, and that you're in the pool for consideration.
Okay. I know that we have a lot of computer science, IT people online right now. You mentioned the workforce positions. So somebody with a bachelor's degree could go in and teach workforce or CE, continuing education courses in that area?
So I'd have to look kind of more specifically, depending on if it's Cisco or something like that. Actually, if I can stop sharing, I'll pull up the credentialing and kind of get a better picture.
Okay.
1 sec. So does anyone have like a specific major that we want to check out and kind of get an idea about?
I did mine in CJ, and then I did my master's in Homeland Security. So kind of what are some things that I could apply for?
Sure, yeah. So for cybersecurity, I see that one in the chat as well, and you mentioned security. That is one of our bachelor's programs, actually. I'm not quite sure if we have something available at the workforce level. I'll have to double check on that. So for the bachelor's level program, that would be a master's. But going back to computer information tech, we do have quite a few different subdisciplines that are available. And those are typically going to be an associate's or bachelor's degree and 3 years of non-teaching work experience in the field.
So hands-on experience.
Hands-on experience, yeah.
Okay.
So, lesser degree, more emphasis on the experience.
there was a question in the chat about what is your advice for someone changing careers? 4 years of full-time teaching experience in public schools. But yeah, somebody who wants to transition into higher ed with teaching experience. Catherine, can you tell us a little bit more about maybe what you have in mind?
Hey, sorry, I'm a full-time teacher, so I just got off of work and I missed the front end of this presentation. But I was seeing, because I always get kind of the same, and this is not to sound derogatory or rude, but I get always same run-of-the-mill response on advisement for someone who's transitioning careers with an actual career, like a good career background and good set of skills and qualities to bring into a workplace. But I always just told like, oh, emphasize your skills, but never exact details of what recruiters or employers are looking for in that demonstration. What's an actionable step for me to take other than just being like, look at me, I'm amazing. Because not everyone understands that teachers wear a lot of hats and have a lot of great skills that are transferable to many workplaces. So what would be your advice for that?
You want to go first, Julie?
Sure, yeah, I mean, I'll hop in. So this is a question that I do get a lot. And, at Lone Star College, we do get a lot of applicants who, maybe do have K through 12 teaching experience and are trying to break into higher ed. And just, being frank, it can be quite competitive, but I do think that there are some strategies. I hate that I am kind of repeating the emphasize your skills advice, but I think it is good advice. There might just be some ways to kind of do it more strategically. And, I'm speaking specifically to Lone Star College and kind of, how our process works and what we look for. But, I do recommend, if you're looking for, let's say you're applying to a management position rather than, instructional side, really specify, the activities that you've done in your position that, qualify as management activities. I do think that quantifying things helps. Really just kind of threading the needle for somebody who is, reading your resume and cover letter. I think that, organization can help in terms of how you present it. People have different opinions on objective statements at the top of a resume. I think they can help if they're well written. I do think that, your cover letter, again, can be a great place to emphasize where those skills relate. And at Lone Star, I would say it is really important to very, very closely review the job description, because a lot of times when I'm screening, I've been given criteria from the committee that is straight from the job description. Whether it's in the required qualifications or if they're looking at some additional preferred that come from the, the job duties of the knowledge, skills, and abilities. So just make it easy on us to, search the resume, make sure that those keywords are included there. So Julio,
I really appreciate you. Oh, sorry. It's like the connection's gonna be a little iffy because I'm in my car on speaker. Thank you for answering that. Yeah, it's been difficult because I have a pretty, I guess, interesting background. Like my undergrad is political science and Arabic with a minor in Middle Eastern studies. And then I was in education for 5 years teaching international baccalaureate classes, which are like basically the equivalent of like dual credit courses. And then I'll be graduating from Sam Houston next May with my second degree in psychology. So I'm just trying to like fill in the spaces until I, make that path to clinical psychology. But working in upper education is definitely preferable than being back in a high school again.
Catherine, what kind of work do you want to do in higher ed?
I have previously applied for counseling and advisory positions, which are really competitive, I guess, because I know a lot of people apply for them. And I feel like I have a good set of tools and skills for advising and giving counsel to people. So yeah, those are the jobs I have previously applied for. I think probably long-term, it would be super fun to teach in higher education, but of course, need a master's or doctorate probably for that.
Mm-hmm. So I can talk a little bit about this because I was an academic advisor at Lone Star, and I worked with Julie a couple of times on hiring committees for other advisors. And I don't know if it's still the case, but on average, we get about 150 applications for one academic advisor position. And, we would tell them, we want somebody with a bachelor's, 2 years of student services, and you would still get people with PhDs in engineering who, for some reason, would get through. And you have to go through all of these resumes and really decipher who is going to be a good fit and who has the background. So for you, Catherine, what I would say is you really need to target the position you're applying to, and then tell us about all those transferable skills that would be relevant and fit that position. I think advising would probably be a good place for you. But like at University Park, they had high school, I think it's called, right? Where it was actually a high school that was in the same building. University Park was this really unique building where you had the high school on the first floor, Lone Star second through third or fifth, and then you had UHD also there. So somebody could go from high school to finishing a bachelor's all in one building. But yeah, I think you really need to target the positions, look at those job descriptions, and then tell us what you can do using the job description, their keywords. And I think that's going to make a real big difference to your applications moving forward.
Okay, so if you don't mind me asking a follow-up question.
Go ahead.
I'll get from anyone else that's listening. Yeah. So let's say someone does do all that, because I know I definitely, like, I don't ever make a general based resume or cover letter for any job I apply to. I always use the keywords and the verb, like the verbiage, I guess you could say, or the vocabulary that they're using in the ad. What further steps can someone take to make sure that their paper makes it to the top of the stack and cut through the rest?
There's no guarantee. I mean, you're going to apply, and I can tell you that there's people within the Lone Star system who are trying to get into those positions too. You have advisors from different colleges who are moving to a different college. So it's not to say you can't get that job. I was an outsider and I was able to get in. But it really just boils down to, are you making it, is your resume what it needs to be? And then are you selling yourself the right way in the interview? But even having said all that, you're still going to miss out. I know we missed out on people that would have been a good fit. And I think that's just part of the hiring process that would apply to any industry.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Julie, can you talk a little bit about, I don't know, how much recruiting do you do on LinkedIn?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say that LinkedIn is one of the primary tools that I use. We love LinkedIn because it automatically wraps our jobs from our site onto LinkedIn. And so I know that a lot of our web traffic comes from LinkedIn. LinkedIn is growing tremendously. I highly recommend anybody who is trying to, job search to get on LinkedIn, because it's not even just a, professional social network, but, it's a great place to stay on top of industry trends, get news. And so, as the recruiter role, there's some additional functionalities that I have access to for, profile search. And so that is a tool that I use pretty often when sourcing directly for positions. Sometimes I am working with a hiring manager and it's something kind of specialized and hard to fill. And so it's super, super helpful to be able to go and, search profiles for the, experience that we're looking for, certifications that we need, or even just some keywords. So I highly, highly recommend not only having a LinkedIn profile, but having one that is detailed and up to date so that recruiters can find you if you have some of those unique skills that we're looking for.
How important is the appearance of the LinkedIn?
I try to be as, fair as possible and not judge too much on that. But if it's very clear that you never use it, if it's, very, very sparse, if you don't respond to messages for a month or something like that, we'll probably have moved on. But if you have a detailed, professional, polished looking LinkedIn profile, that makes it a lot easier to discern whether you're a fit. And also if you are, a candidate that's actively searching, or maybe a in-demand passive candidate that we want to get in touch with.
With us not having career fairs right now, and maybe not having one until the fall, how open are you to people contacting you, when they're interested in getting hired on at Lone Star?
I'm definitely interested. I will definitely share my email address. So I can put that in the chat now, and I will, of course, share my PowerPoint presentation, which I believe has my information. If not, I'll add it. So, I'm here to help answer any questions about the process, any, questions about, qualifications, status updates, things like that. Again, I'm not part of the hiring decision necessarily, but I am in close contact with the hiring managers and hiring teams. So, I'm here as a resource on both sides, to applicants, interested applicants, as well as, internally to Lone Star.
When somebody does contact you and they're trying to get hired on, say at University Park or North Harris, what's the best way for them to initiate that conversation?
Sure. Yeah, I think, it's always helpful if you've already applied, or if you are needing help with applying, make that clear about what you're interested in. Another thing to keep in mind is that there are 2 recruiters for all of Lone Star College currently. Typically we have 4. So our focus is primarily on full-time positions. We're never too busy to help, but just do keep in mind that we are, there primarily to help with candidates who have an idea of what they're looking for, help match up, if it's a lot easier if you come to me and say, I'm looking for, IT positions at Lone Star College versus I would like to work for Lone Star College. If you kind of give me a little more information, I've already applied, that's a lot easier. Another thing to keep in mind is, I know that at other institutions, sometimes recruiters are kind of like the initial screening interview. And so that's not really how it works at Lone Star College. But I'm always happy to, forward your resume to a hiring manager, get a status update for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any other questions?
I have a question. I didn't know that it was very competitive, so that might change things, but I'm looking at a job description for a part-time advisor, level 1, and it says required qualifications, bachelor's degree in at least 1 year of experience or an equivalent combination of education and experience. Does that mean I would be able to apply, like, for example, I'm graduating in August. Would I be able to apply before then, or would you prefer I have my bachelor's and I'm ready to go?
That's a great question. And, I think it's a good opportunity to explain how we calculate equivalency, because you'll see that language in some of our other positions as well. So not all of our positions, but many of them, you can substitute related experience for years of required experience for education and vice versa. So the way that we look at that is kind of like a bachelor's degree is 4 years above a high school diploma. So if you had 4 years of related work experience instead of that, you could substitute. So if you had, 5 years of experience total without a bachelor's degree, or if you had an associate's degree, that would count as 2 years above a high school diploma. So in your case, it'll just depend on if you have that related experience. Otherwise, it may be wise to wait until you've completed your degree to be considered. It'll just depend.
One of the things that I find interesting about Lone Star is that it has a system office. And so you have a whole other level of hiring there. So for our business majors, it seems like there's good opportunities to start somewhere and be able to have some mobility.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we are, a lot of people think of Lone Star and think of just teaching, but there's a whole business side as well. And we have a lot of our administrative services in-house. So, we have HR, of course. We have a finance department. There's business managers at each of the campuses as well. Financial aid might be an interesting area too, if you're trying to kind of get your foot in the door and have some business experience. The way that a lot of these departments work is they're centralized at our system offices, but they may have functions at the campuses as well. So in addition to, opportunities there at the system office, we have one in the Woodlands and one at our University Park campus. There might also be, business related functions at the campuses as well.
And when it comes to IT, you hire people who work on networks, but you also hire the programmers, right? The computer science degrees.
Yeah, we have, teams that are, database administration, system administration, security. We have, then on the other side, more client facing, kind of just support technicians. We have our call center. Those are more, entry level positions if you're looking to get a foot in the door. So we do have a wide variety, as well as, web services, things like that.
Do you, the positions for the people who set up the labs, are those positions posted for outside folks, or is that strictly for on-campus students?
Those, so you're talking about like the lab coordinator and lab assistant positions? Yes, those are posted. Sometimes those are part-time positions. Occasionally an opening will come up for a full-time coordinator of like a lab. But yes, we, with the exemption of, our work study program, all of our positions are posted externally and internally, so.
Okay. Does anybody else have questions? There's a few names that I don't recognize, so I don't know what their major is. But I know we have a lot of computer science majors.
Well, definitely feel free to reach out to me about positions that look interesting to you at Lone Star. That's one of the areas that I work directly with and am always hiring for.
Julie, I'm sorry, I might have missed this at the beginning of the presentation, but how did the hiring process go for you at Lone Star? Did it take you a long time? Was it the first time you applied?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm happy to talk about that. So I would say that from when I applied to when I started, it was a few months. So I think I interviewed right around Thanksgiving, and then, kind of knew by the beginning of December that I had been offered the position, but then I didn't start until January. And some of that is just, the way that our hiring process works, and it's multi-stage. So I also, had a finalist interview with our Associate Vice Chancellor of Human Resources. But we also, one of the great benefits of working for Lone Star is that we have an extended, winter break. And so, that factored in as well. But I would say all told, it was probably about 3 months.
All right, well, if there's no other questions, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Julie, thank you so much again for doing this. That was very informative and a lot of good information for us to take with us and use in a lot of different areas. If we have anybody who needs to follow up with you, thank you for sharing your information. We'll pass it along. And I also just heard from our CJ career specialist, and she'll be contacting you too.
Wonderful. I'm really excited about partnering with y'all, and thank you so much for the opportunity to come and speak. And, just my closing word would just be, I am, very encouraging of all of you to apply, and I'm always here as a resource, so don't hesitate to reach out to me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Julie. Have a good day. Thanks, everybody.